Hello and welcome to the first of our 2023 webinar series at Planet IT. And today I'm going to be talking to you about growing your IT team without recruiting. We all know that the current environment for IT requirements in business is ever growing and that the challenges never seem to go away. With that, we always have the challenge of trying to recruit the best people to support your business. Now, what I want to talk to you today about is maybe a different approach to that and a different way to look at how you deal with recruitment and how you deal with resourcing for your IT requirements inside your business. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is James Dell and I am the Associate Director and Head of Technical Architecture at Planet IT. I've been in the industry now for too many years. I'm working through healthcare, through education, and into the managed services industry before joining Planet IT many years ago. Now, my role is all around finding customers the right solutions, or whether that be a technical solution, or in this case today, talking about how to resolve your IT challenges without essentially having to look at, putting large figures on your recruitment board. Is always a benefit. So for me today, it's quite a personal subject. I've been both sides of the fence. I've been in internal roles as IT managers and IT directors, where you have to look at how you resource a team and the requirements you have, and obviously the environment that you have to look after and protect, and ultimately manage day to day and how you deal with those challenges. I've also then been on this side of the fence with Planet IT, looking at how there's different ways to approach it, and that's ultimately what we're hopefully going to cover in some great detail for you today. So really, I've got kind of three main aims for today for this session, for those of you who are watching. The first is to talk about the different approaches of IT support in 2023. This is going to cover everything from the different ways we can approach it in terms of, different flavors, different types of approach, through to some of the things that you get as benefits for each of those different types and where they fit in a real world environment. And that's ultimately what we need to look at. Is not every support mechanism is right for every business, for every scenario. So I'm going to really dive into those different support types and where they really fit for each type of business and where they don't fit. Let's be honest, there's going to be some scenarios where the type of support I'm talking about isn't right for you, and I'm going to try and highlight that for you today. And then finally, I want to talk about how you leverage flexible support options to best aid your business. Now, nothing is worse than a rigid process. Now, we all saw that with COVID-19 and the sudden dramatic shift to working from home. Those businesses that were super rigid in their approach really struggled to move with the times. Businesses that were already prepared and ready for flexibility in terms of the working environment were able to very quickly adapt to the changing world. And support is just the same. The support of the past, where you have a large IT team sat behind desks in your corporate office waiting to jump on issues or keeping the lights on, as it were, that's kind of a thing of the past now. It's very expensive because of the skill set that's required to do that. You have a vast amount of technology that's required and technologies you expect end users to be able to work with and your technical staff to be able to support. And alongside that, it has its challenges in terms of that's not really where your users are anymore. Most businesses have some form of flexibility or hybrid working. So therefore, having everyone sat in your corporate office has less benefit than it did prior to 2020. For a lot of you sat listening to me talking, you're probably going, well, why are you the person talking to us about this? So why should we listen to you? Why should we listen to Planet IT? I've broken this down quite simply into three sections. The first of all is to talk to you about our current service in terms of what we're doing and why that makes us a business that you want to listen to when we're talking about support offerings. So just to give you some statistics, in 2022, we closed over 150,000 tickets for our clients. Now, a ticket is not some automated tick box exercise where it goes to a system and is closed by a process. That is a person doing something, looking at something and resolving something for one of our clients. That's 150,000 of those tickets. That was over 43,000 hours that we had a physical person working on a ticket to resolve for a client. Yeah, that's huge numbers. But the more important thing is, for all of those tickets, there was a 98% customer satisfaction rating. And we've done that consistently for the last 5 years. So if I put that into context for you, we're doing a huge amount of tickets, and we're also doing those tickets, with a great degree of customer satisfaction. That's why we're uniquely placed to talk about this, because I'm not talking to you about IT support from a position of, well, we sell a service and we do all right. We sell a very successful, very busy service, but not only is that service really liked by the businesses that we support, it's also really liked by the clients that use it. 98% satisfaction is not something to be sniffed at, especially when you see the amount of tickets that we've been working on. But then the other side to that, I mentioned the 3 points, kind of the data, the satisfaction. For us, it's the who trusts us. I'm going to leave this slide up for a second so you can see some of the businesses that trust us to provide services to them. So, just picking up some of those name brands you'll see in there, and some of the local brands for those of you in the Oxfordshire area. We are a trusted IT provider. People believe in us to deliver IT services, and as such, we believe we're in a great position to talk to you about those services and how they can increase the belief in IT across your business and the trust in the IT services you provide. So I mentioned at the very top, there's obviously, there is a lot of different approaches to IT support. It's not one size fits all. And at Planet, we kind of break this down into 5 key areas. So these areas are as on the screen. So we start with managed IT support. There's lots of different terminology that different businesses will use to talk about IT support. The terminology on the screen is what Planet uses, and obviously I'm going to try and give you some of the alternatives that you may hear. But today I'm going to cover these 5 areas in great detail. Managed IT support, you may also hear the term fully managed IT support or outsourced IT support. 4th line support, you may also have heard people refer to as escalation support or 3rd line support, or phone a friend is often used in that scenario. Holiday cover is pretty self-explanatory. Holiday cover is what it says on the tin, but you may have also heard of it as on-site protection and coverage, as some people call it, on-site protection and coverage. Then we have the on-site field support, bodies on site. Some people will refer to that in terms of nested hours and a few other things, but ultimately it's a physical body on site. And then your virtual CTO or Chief Technical Officer role. So you'll see those referred to maybe strategic IT roles, vCTO, virtual CTO, those kind of roles are how we often see those described. All of these are flexible services, and I'll get more into that later on. But ultimately, as you can see, there's kind of these 5 areas that I want to talk about. So let's start with the most common area, the fully managed IT support. So what I'm going to talk through is I'll talk through the information that's on the left-hand side of the screen first, and I'll then talk about the pricing model and who it really is for and who it's not for. So the first thing is, all the things that I'm showing you on the left-hand side of the screen are a Planet fully managed support. If you're looking at other vendors, other providers, these may be different. These are the things that we do and we include as part of our managed IT support offering. So the first thing to start with is all of our contracts are 90-day rolling contracts. We at Planet do not believe in long-term commitments, long-term tie-ins. We think we should be as good as our last 90 days, and all of our contracts are structured in that way. It's critical for us because it keeps our engineers honest, because they know if they have a bad month, it's very easy for a client to leave, so we don't have bad months. And you saw that from the first few slides, 98% satisfaction. There's a reason we're achieving that, because we're all working to. It's very easy for people to end their contract if they weren't satisfied. I'm happy to say that people don't do that. We don't lose any business because of people being dissatisfied with it, and the 90-day rolling contract just gives people that peace of mind. Included in that fully managed support, you'll get an unlimited phone and remote support. So we have a couple of methods of entry into that service, be that via a telephone, via email, or via our live chat facility. But essentially, your end users are getting direct access to a physical engineer on the Planet IT staff who are there to deal with their issue and move it through to resolution. This service is available from 8 AM to 6 PM Monday to Friday, so core business hours. all of the tickets that are launched, regardless of their method of entry, be that via the phone, via the live chat, or via email, go into our ConnectWise ticket monitoring system. So this means that as a business owner or as an IT owner in the organization, someone responsible for looking after the outsourced IT function, you'll be able to directly monitor what's happening. So you can see the tickets, the detail, what the engineer is saying. We can look at trends. We have all the data. It's always backed off to that ConnectWise engine. There's no case, no ticket, no scenario where your end user is getting support where we're not logging it, because we need that data. Alongside that, though, you get a dedicated account manager, someone who is your point of contact. They are there to help you with your day-to-day IT purchasing needs. They're also there to make sure that you're satisfied with the service and getting the most out of the service that you're paying for. That's a very unique thing. A lot of businesses will have a pool of account managers who will look after you. With our service, when you go to our fully managed service, you've got a dedicated account manager, someone who is there for you. Alongside the account manager, we've got a team of backup and security specialists who are doing daily proactive monitoring and remediation across your backup environment, regardless of whether that be on-premise, cloud. They're looking after that. And the same with your security. They're looking at your endpoint, your server, your network security, and making sure that it's on point and any issues are remediated immediately. These are tickets that will go into the system you won't see until we sit down with you and go over a review. Ultimately, you're just going to see them happen and they will be dealt with. Because ultimately, you need peace of mind that your underlying protection from backup and protection in the space of security is on point and as expected. That's not something you should have to find out yourself isn't working. We should be on top of that. Alongside that, we make sure that we do network security, configuration and management and monitoring across your entire estate, anything you own. So that'd be on-premise, in the cloud, whether that be a private co-located data center or public cloud. We're monitoring that to make sure that's functional. And when there is a problem and we get that red alert to say a server's gone down and there's an issue, that our team are instantly jumping on it. And then we're not sat there again waiting for your end users to say, hold on, I've lost access to something. We should know, and that's very key for us. That monitoring piece is critical for making sure that the service is as good as it can be. Alongside that, we will do an annual network audit and a roadmap, and I'm going to talk about the IT strategy piece and the roadmaps in a lot of detail later on. But ultimately, this is a unique offering where we look at your position in the world now in the IT space and where you should be, and try and find a achievable business roadmap to move you to that position. And finally is the third-party vendor and support. We can and we will play that middleman between any third parties that you have and your end user. So say you're using a Sage or you're using Xero or a platform that has a dedicated support team and is hosted as software as a service. At Planet IT, we're not going to have the best access to that system to always remediate your issues because it's hosted as a platform. But your end user, likewise, doesn't really want to be sat on the phone to vendor support for hours. We'll do that piece for them. We'll play the middleman. We'll sit there and we'll deal with that vendor for you and make sure that your end user gets the best support possible without having to spend their entire day talking to another support desk who doesn't really know their system and doesn't really know the challenges they're seeing. So how's this costed? Well, we cost our fully managed IT support, our managed IT support services in a very simple way. It's a per user per month cost, and you pay for IT users. There's a set fee for your business and it's scalable. So as you go from 10 users to 10,000 users, you know what that cost is. So we grow with your business. It's not a service where it's got a hard cap and we only support up to 50 users. We'll support you as you grow. This is reviewed every 90 days when you have a review meeting with your account manager to keep you true. So if you scale up or scale down, we'll reflect that. So you're not tied into a contract where you're looking at a long-term commitment at a value that may not be true moving forward. So I said I'd talk about who it's for. So a fully managed support contract is ideal for a business that has no existing IT team or will have no existing IT team when we take over. This isn't something that sits very well alongside an existing team because we're taking a lot of the responsibility. So we see this being used by clients who are in the SME and SMB space, startups who are coming from having no IT team but having a lot of IT systems and information and need someone to manage it, through to large businesses who are looking to essentially move that IT function out of the business and make it someone else's responsibility. We don't very often see this run alongside existing IT resource. The only exception to this would be where you have someone like an IT director or an IT owner in the business who maybe is hands-on, non-functional IT. They are, a leader in the IT for the organization, but they're not necessarily there to do the do, as it were, and they need a team behind them. That's the one scenario where you would see having an IT team run alongside fully managed support. So now we move on to what we call fourth line support, and as I mentioned at the start, may be called third line or maybe called escalation support. So this follows a similar structure. So it is a 90-day rolling contract. It has a dedicated account manager, someone who you can call when you have a challenge, someone who's there to help you with hardware and software procurement, someone who's there to help make sure that you're getting the most from the service. Again, this service is available 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Again, we're using our ConnectWise agent to monitor and raise tickets so that we are fully logging what you're using and what the team is delivering to you, and we're keeping information so we can track trends and we can look at challenges maybe around infrastructure. Alongside this, we're doing that network configuration management and the server configuration management to make sure that we're looking at your environment and making sure that the configuration is correct and that any changes that need to be made can be made. We're live monitoring your server and your network, again, to make sure that if something goes down, we're telling you rather than you telling us. And we'd rather come to you and say, did you know this box was offline? Than you go, this box has been offline for 2 hours, why are you not helping? And again, you get the annual network audit and roadmap, and I'll talk into more detail at the end of this. This is costed on a per hour, per quarter model. So the way that works is you're buying block hours that your team can leverage. And this is ideal for anyone who has an existing IT team. So if you've got a skilled IT team in-house, but maybe, as with all of us, there's things that we just don't know, that's where this service comes in really well. If there's those knowledge or skills gaps, or you've got just an excessive workload and you've got too much on, too many plates to spin, and you need someone to be able to pass some of this work off to, that's where Planet IT comes in with our fourth line support. We're there to be that phone a friend. We're the end of the phone when you need us, in a position where you can say, could you pick this up for us? Is there any chance that you could look at X, Y, or Z for us? Or we are having a challenge with this system. Do you have an expert in it? In all cases, there will be an expert at our end who we can pass to, someone who is qualified and certified on that product beyond what most of your engineers will be able to do, because that's what these guys do all day, every day. And that's why this service has value, because we are recruiting and we hold on to experts in their field, which you can then leverage, resources that you may not be able to buy into your business if you were looking to recruit directly. So I said at the start, holiday cover, it's pretty simple, sounds pretty self-explanatory. There's 3 key factors with the holiday cover system. First of all, you still get a dedicated account manager, still that person you can call. And most important thing with holiday cover is that's the person you can call when you say, John's going on leave in July for 4 days, can I have someone on site? He's that person that's going to, or she is the person who's going to work on that and make sure you get the resource. You can have this from 1 day to 1 year. You could, you can buy as little or as many as days as you want, and we look to try and get to, to know your business and understand what kind of commitment you need. If you're trying to cover, a senior member of staff, a third line engineer who has 26 days holiday, it might be you buy 26 of these a year, and these can be on site or remote. So that's the key flexibility there, is if your business is still very much in office working from one location and you need to have a body on site, we can do that. But if you're a flexible working organization and you'd rather have it remote, then we can facilitate that as well, and we can work with you to make sure that works for you. This is costed in a very simple way. You're just paying for the day. The key thing here is that day rate is a reduced day rate versus if you were to go and buy a professional services engineer or someone who is focused on project delivery. This is an engineer who's focused on support, and that's what they do day to day. So they know how to slot into your business and how to sit inside an existing support function. They're not someone who's used to delivering projects on a solo basis. And let's be honest, who's this good for? Well, is it good for an existing IT team? If you've got a large team, you need coverage, or you've got a small team, you need coverage, it's ideal for you. It's ideal if you're taking a break personally. There's many businesses that offer sabbaticals to IT managers, IT directors at the end of their 10 years of service. This is an ideal way to slot in and cover that, so to make sure that when you come back, you're not coming back to a huge set of problems. And again, it's great if you have excessive workloads. We call this holiday cover, but it could be that actually you've got a load of projects that are taking you away from the day-to-day, and your roles ultimately being left unguarded, as it were. And you just need someone to slot into that position and go, right, all those level 3 tickets that I would normally be taking, or that third line work, can you sit and pick that up for the next 30 days while I work on this large deployment that's taking my focus elsewhere? Similarly to the holiday cover is the on-site or field support. So the slight difference with an on-site or field support is, while you're still getting the dedicated account manager, you still have the flexibility of whether it's 1 day to 1 year. It's the fact that you can pick a first to third line person. So we're not talking about someone of a senior level here. We're talking about someone from a help desk first liner through to a help desk third liner. We have flexibility in offerings there. Many businesses will have the third line tied up, but you may struggle for those people that are answering the phone and triaging those initial calls. This is where an on-site or field support engineer can pick that up. It may be that you've moved to a remote model, but you still have some offices around the country that need occasional visits, someone to come to site and just check in, plug a printer in, check that the users are happy. This is where field support comes in and can be really beneficial. This again is costed on a per day used model, and it's great for existing IT teams. It's also great for anyone who's also using managed IT, and we see a lot of our managed IT clients will also take a number of field support days per month, or even per week, to make sure that they get that coverage in their offices. It's also great when you have that excessive workload. As I said, if we're doing a major phone deployment and you're tied up, but also there's going to be a huge influx of people calling in to get password resets or to get connected to a new phone system, it may well be that a first liner sat in your office is the right solution, and this is the way that you can tap into that resource and get the most from it. The final piece of the puzzle in terms of those 5 services I talked about at the start is the vCTO, or Virtual Chief Technical Officer role. Now, this is something that, for a lot of businesses when they go for managed IT support, is something that falls by the wayside. So while you may have the fully managed piece covered, so you may have someone dealing with the first to third line help desk pieces and keeping you functional as you are, because you haven't got an internal team, you may well be missing out on someone looking at the business and the strategical IT goals of the business alongside that. And that's where our vCTO role fits in nicely. It's a senior business executive. It's someone who has more than 10 years of IT experience, someone who understands the current environment in the IT world, understands your business, and understands where your business will need to be to continue to grow and continue to thrive using IT the way it does, or using IT the way it needs to. They'll be there to act as a point of authority. So they'll be there to answer to the board around IT-based decisions. So, moving systems, upgrades, changes, they'll be there to act as that point of authority. They're there to provide that strategic planning and guidance alongside strategic governance for meetings, to make sure that when the wider business is talking about changes it wants to make, the IT implications are thought about and swallowed up in the correct way, and don't end up feeding into the help desk as problems that could have elsewhere been dealt with. They're there to make sure that the service is kept true, regardless of if that's an in-house service, a hybrid service, or a fully managed service. They're there to make sure that the boxes are ticked. And it may be you have multiple providers across the globe, and it may be that Planet's one of them. But the service management piece is to make sure that all of those different providers are staying true to what they said they're going to do. And with the vCTO role, you still get that dedicated account manager. You still get someone who is there to help you day to day, because while, as it says, it's a virtual CTO, you're not getting a full-time person for your organization, you still need someone that you can call when you need to get access to that service. This is costed on contrary to the slide, this is on a per day, per month basis. And that will be the ability for you to tap into that. And you can call that off as a few hours at a time or half day at a time, but it's sold as a per day, per month model. And it's ideal for existing IT teams or managed IT clients. Maybe you've got a great internal team, first to third line, but you miss that strategic governance. It may be that you're on a fully managed contract and you're missing that governance piece. This is to wrap around that. I mentioned it a few times through all the slides around this kind of IT roadmap and audit and the strategy piece. This is something that Plant IT does, which is different to a lot of other providers. We include this throughout our services. And the idea is to look at things like, where can my business improve what it uses its technology for? Where can I make my infrastructure more robust? What things are being done less efficiently, or where am I wasting time and money? How am I going to achieve our technical goals as a business? I want to do, a new finance package, but can we afford it? Is it worth the investment? I'm not sure if we're safe. Are we protected from a cyber attack? This is keeping me up. So what we look at doing is using specific experience and guidance to create a IT strategy that's focused to your unique business needs. There is no cookie cutter approach to IT strategies. Anyone who tells you can just go, here's a strategy and it works for every business is wrong, because every business uses IT and IT services differently. And what we're keen on doing is understanding that. So we need to look at where your business is and how it wants to get there. So, is your business going to triple in size? Are you looking at diversifying into other markets? Are you looking at going away from office spaces into a more hybrid approach? Are you moving to the public cloud? We need to understand what you want to do, and we need to build around that. And we need to future-proof everything we look at. So an IT strategy of the past would have been written as a 3 or 5 year plan. A 3 or 5 year plan that after 12 months is out of date. The way that Plan IT does its IT strategies is there are 18-month plans, because realistically, the change you'll see in the IT space in 18 months is so dramatic that a plan that goes beyond that starts to lose its validity. So therefore, we keep it short, we keep it focused, but still driven around how to keep your business safe and secure. We also look at the worst case scenario. What happens if X is lost, your entire building goes down, that all your data is lost? We're looking at all those pieces and making sure that a strategic plan covers how to keep you functional as a business at all times at the minimal risk to you. We're also, because we are IT service providers, we are also value-added resellers. We're in with all the latest technology providers. We get to see the latest and greatest well before they get released to the public because of our existing relationship. So we know what's on the horizon. We're looking at latest Windows releases. We're looking at new devices. We're looking at changing environments. We're looking at how AI or how security landscapes are changing. And we're bedding that into our strategy so that we're actually making the most of the technology and looking how it will be costed in the real world. Ultimately, a costed IT strategy is critical. If your IT strategy isn't costed, it's not really much more than pie in the sky thinking. So we make sure that all of our strategies are fully costed and achievable for the business. And ultimately, it needs to improve end user experiences. If your end user has a terrible experience, they're never going to come back. So we need to make sure that your end user has a great experience, and every step along that strategy only does things that improve the end user experience. So that is how we look at an IT strategy. We look at the questions on the left and we look at the ideas on the right, and we combine them into a document which you get issued every 18 months and is refreshed every 12 months throughout your contract. And the idea being that you're never then missing the position that you're on that roadmap, and you're never missing out on technology or future-proofing your business in the incorrect way. What I wanted to talk about now was, let's talk about some real world scenarios, right? Let's talk about what our clients are doing. And now, without giving you client details or breaching any non-disclosure agreements, I'm going to keep it vague, but I'm going to keep it real. So scenario A is I need a team to replace my on-site IT team. So I'm looking at managed IT support. But then I'm also got a number of offices across the UK, and those offices have workers in them who often have challenges around working in the office space. We have clients that see this challenge all the time, and we see this as one of our most commonly purchased bundles of flexible support offerings, and that is fully managed IT plus on-site field engineer support. Most clients will take 1 or 2 days of on-site field support a month. Many will take some days per week, depending on the number of offices and locations they have. This is the ideal scenario for anyone who has multiple offices, anyone who maintains a physical presence and hasn't gone down that fully remote offering. Another really common approach that we see is fourth line support, so that phone a friend support, and then holiday cover tapped into that. So the reason for doing that is you're leveraging those people who already know your system. So those fourth line engineers who you're calling and you're escalating to throughout the year, you're using them to provide cover for when you're on leave. So those 20 days a year when you're stepping away from your desk and you're going to go and enjoy yourself, and it may be that you're leaving the country, you've got peace of mind knowing that you're passing responsibility over to our experts. And this works. We see a number of clients who buy our fourth line support services later tap on holiday cover to make sure that they get that peace of mind while they're away, and there's someone there dedicated to replacing their role. We're starting to see a huge rise in this offering, which is people taking our managed IT support and then taking our virtual CTO service. This is for, as I discussed, where they've had a managed IT support maybe previously with someone else, and in that time they've lost that strategic focus. They've lost that drive towards making IT better, and they've maybe slipped into the past a little bit. And then we've come on board as their managed IT support provider and gone, look, you're a long way off where you should be. You've quite a lot of dated equipment. You're a long way behind, and they need someone to drive forward those business changes, to be that board member who is going to represent IT. And that's where our virtual CTO service comes in. So that bundle we see quite often. And let's be honest, the one that we see the most is a combination of most of these, which is where we're looking at a managed IT support contract with on-site presence 1 to 2 days a month, or maybe even more, and then the wraparound of a virtual CTO service of a couple of days a month to continue to drive that service forward. We see this being the number one go-to for businesses who are looking to expand and grow, especially during these challenging times. They know that it's key to make sure you're watching those figures, you're keeping their overheads low, but you're getting the best service for your end users. It's at this point I'm going to take a few questions, so I'm just going to drop back to my other window so I can grab the questions that come in, and we'll go from there. So the first question that I have here is around the current market and how we see recruitment in general in the IT market. We've got a question here saying that they're finding recruiting in the current market very difficult, and that's very true. Obviously, Planet IT has a sister company, Planet Recruitment, and they are out there recruiting for IT roles, and we hear from them, and we find it when we're out there actively recruiting for roles, it's a very competitive market. Salary expectations in the IT space have gone up considerably over the last 18 to 24 months. This means that when you find a great candidate, you've probably one of 3 or 4 companies who are also speaking to them, and you're all vying for the same pool of engineers. This is where our services really shine and take their own, I suppose, because we're the ones that have to do that work. We're the ones who are consistently interviewing, developing and growing, and our team consistently gets bigger and bigger. We have the ability to obviously to protect ourselves by having the resource we need internally, where if you're trying to retrospectively fill a role for someone who has since left you, you're going to have a challenge, because your expectation of salary you may have been paying that person previously will need to be 10 to 20% greater than it is at the moment. So it's definitely a challenging market, definitely something that we see being a problem, and it's something that we think will continue to be a challenge into the next couple of years. And that's why we see more and more people coming to us for one of those support offerings that we talked about. Another question here around holiday cover is holiday cover suitable for long-term sickness? 100%. The holiday cover is something you can use to cover someone for maternity or long-term sickness. The key is, as long as we know about it and as long as you've got an agreement in place with us, it's very easy for us to spin out into getting someone on site for you or get someone in place remotely for you. We're there to help. The key is to make sure you're reaching out to your account manager and speaking to us, but it's definitely something that's suitable, and we do see clients using it, especially for maternity cover, things like that. You know, the 9-month cover you need to provide is making sure that your business continues to move forward. Holiday cover, long-term protection is ideal for that. Here's a really good question. Someone's asked, can an outsourced help desk know my business as well as someone who is in my own team? This is something that's always been a concern when looking at taking on clients on Planet, and it's something that we are laser focused on. We have a rock solid onboarding process, which is around understanding your business, your IT environment, and your end users. This is then dispersed into the team that will be supporting you, and they learn this like it's gospel. You'll then be working with a select team inside our large help desk to make sure that they understand your system. They're looking over your data. They will learn the way you work. They will learn the systems you use, the way you approach things. We need our team to feel as much as possible like they're your experts, and that's what we strive to do. We really do strive to make sure that they are skilled up as possible in your systems, not just in IT in general, because we all know that you can get a generalist, but there's nothing more frustrating for an end user than calling up and going, hi, I'm calling from X company, I've got a problem with Sage, and the person they're speaking to goes, I know nothing about your environment, what's Sage? That nothing more frustrating than that. So we make sure that that doesn't happen, and we make sure that the team know you as well as possible. You know, we're never going to know you as well as someone that sits in your office all day, every day, but we'll certainly know you as close as we can. And that onboarding process, which we go through, is very robust and make sure that that's completely feasible. I've got another question coming in, which is what happens if you have an issue outside of business hours? So you will have noticed that all of the slides I put up have the term 8 till 6, Monday to Friday, business hours. We do offer an out of hours support service for outside of those core business hours. Those are bespoke offerings that we will offer to clients on specific needs. So it's something we can 100% do. But the focus for us, for our large help desk, is making sure they're available in core hours. If you have a business need for weekends, evenings, for those, those unique time zones, a coverage for other regions, all you need to do is speak to us, and we can go through what we can offer and how we can structure for your business. Because it's so unique, it's not something I wanted to put in the slide deck. It's something that I was thinking would be a good thing to explain, because it can become very complicated. For me, it's about explaining the options you have available to you, but certainly out of our support, additional cover is something that we can do. I think I've got through all of those questions now. So I suppose before I wrap up, the thing I wanted to finish with is if you're looking at any of those services, looking to outsource your IT support in any way, why would you choose Planet IT? Well, the first thing is, hopefully you've seen from this event, and you will see it more speaking to us, we're nice people. We do have expert knowledge. We have a large team of qualified and certified professionals across the IT spectrum. We believe in training and making sure our guys know what they're doing, and that is critical, in this industry. So we are experts at what we do, and it's a service led by engineers. We have a huge team of engineers, and that's where we drive from. It's around the team that we have behind us. Our approach is very different to a lot of other providers. So we have 90-day rolling contracts. On our fully managed support contracts, we have inclusive engineer on site after escalation. If we can't fix it remotely, we'll come to you. We always offer those business focused IT roadmaps and strategic plans. We're there to drive you forward and work with you. And we have our unique live chat functionality to give your end users access to the service in as quick a way as possible. And then we've got some really strong credentials, some that we just don't shout about enough. We are a large business. We continue to grow year on year. We've got award-winning IT support. We're certified for Cyber Essentials. We hold ISO 27001 2013 Information Security Management certification. We are a Crown Commercial Services supplier, so we are approved to supply goods and services via CCS. We're a Microsoft Gold partner, and we're Sophos Platinum partner, and we've won Sophos Partner of the Year over 3 times. We are a partner you can trust in, ultimately. I do thank you very much for your time today. I hope that has been beneficial to you. If you would like to find out more about our services, you can visit our website below, or you can contact me directly via LinkedIn or via my email, which is james.dell@planet-it.net. I look forward to seeing you on our next webinar, and through the rest of 2023, have a good afternoon.